happens on TV because, every time they show a sporting event, they got the pharmaceutical companies back to back to back telling people how to fix the sickness on the same stuff that they sell them. So we get it.
Yep, we get it too, Chuck D. And that's why at KBLA Talk 1580, we don't black down.
Drop it! Our freedom of speech is freedom of death. We got to fight the powers that be. Fight the power! Fight the power! Fight the power!
Shine, flies, no time to waste while it's passing you by. Shine, flies, be patient, cause good things happen in time. We gon' get it right, we gon' get it right, we gon' get it right. We gon' get it right.
Protests and anthems, yes, we chanting for movement of people. It's like we dancing to the ministry of, it's the energy of, in memory of them that we love. The trinity of the people, the peace, the power, the truth. We speak the powers even louder. We can say it blacker, we can say it prouder. A woman vice president that went to Howard. Now we talk helping black businesses, and our differences is magnificent. Bringing light to the poor where the prisons is. I was so good like this where forgiveness lives. The ascension is to leave what's left behind and feed the seeds for deeds that bless the mind, caress the mind, and question justify with you and God and time are best aligned.
You are listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. I'm Dr. Nii-Quartelai Quartey, your host and White House correspondent. Not at the White House today, but here in LA in afternoon drive time with you. As always, I'm in touch, and so you be in touch. Follow me on all the social media platforms at Dr. Nii-Quartelai. Just type in Dr. Nii-Q, and there I am, fresh for you to follow. Also, be sure to download the KBLA app to listen to us live or on demand, or you can just tell Alexa to play KBLA Talk 1580, and there we are for your listening pleasure. Thank you, Ms. Alexa. Last but not least, be sure to subscribe to A More Perfect Union podcast. That way you'll never miss an episode. Have you marked your calendars yet for October 25th? Are you ready for October 25th? I know I am ready for October 25th. What's happening on October 25th, you might wonder? Well, the Left Coast Forum returns to Los Angeles Saturday, October 25th at the LA Trade Tech College located at 400 West Washington Avenue here in Los Angeles. Be there or be square. There are a number of community groups that are coming together to be a part of the Left Coast Forum, including Community Coalition, United Teachers Los Angeles, LA Care, St. John's Community Health, Partnership for Growth. The list goes on and on and on. Go to KBLA1580.com to register. You can register for free, but you got to register. And so go to KBLA1580.com to register for the Left Coast Forum on October 25th. We look forward to having a number of our community partners on air with us in the coming days and weeks to talk about their work, right? I mean, this is a time where there's a lot happening in our communities, a lot happening in our country. And this is not the time to fold your arms. This is the time to roll up your sleeves. And so we're going to be inviting folks on who have and are rolling up their sleeves. Now it's time for your national news roundup. It's time for you to decide the good, bad, and ugly headlines of the day. Kicking us off this October 1st, the government shutdown. Everybody's talking about it. This is what we believe you should know about federal layoffs and Social Security. Let's start there. As reported by USA Today, the federal government shut down at midnight as President Trump and congressional Democrats blamed each other for failing to reach an agreement in a bitter standoff over funding the government. This marks the 15th government shutdown since 1981, if you're counting. And there's no immediate end in sight as congressional Democrats demand health care policy changes that Trump and Republicans have refused to entertain. Looming over the fight is the threat of mass layoffs, with Trump saying, quote, vast numbers of federal workers could be terminated. The White House Office of Management and Budget said in a recent email that workers whose activities are, quote, not consistent with the president's priorities are a target. And Vice President J.D. Vance, he told reporters that the administration will, quote, have to lay people off if a shutdown extends for weeks. The blame game, also ratcheting up. The White House website, I've never really seen this before. The White House website features a clock counting the amount of time Democrats have shut down the government, while the Democratic National Committee wrote on social media earlier today that Republicans owned the shutdown. And so that's what's going on the shutdown front. And in case you were wondering, of all the issues that Democrats could have chosen to go to the mat on, why healthcare? I mean, it could have easily been mass deportation. It could have been the federalized law enforcement across the country, really occupying major cities across the country. It could have been that. But why healthcare? Well, The Guardian offers us some clues as to why healthcare spending was at the center of the U.S. government shutdown battle. The federal government, of course, shut down in part because in June, you might remember, the U.S. president approved legislation he calls the Big Beautiful Bill, which the Congressional Budget Office estimated would reduce federal Medicaid spending by $793 billion with a B. Yep, $793 billion. And increase the number of insured people by 7.8 million. The savings in federal Medicaid spending will largely come from the implementation of new requirements, which include completing 80 hours of work or community service activities per month or meeting exemption criteria. And so Democrats said, wait a minute, we got these Obamacare subsidies that are expiring at the end of the year. That's going to drive up costs for everyday Americans. We can't let that happen. And even though this bill passed back in June, so-called Big Beautiful Bill passed, cutting Medicaid, offering really the biggest cut to Medicaid in the nation's history, Democrats are still not okay with that. And they are fighting tooth and nail to make sure those cuts don't materialize. That's what this fight is about. I might remind you that around this time last year, in the 2024 election, remember when everyone was talking about the cost of things? How inflation was too high, the cost of things were too high, the cost of eggs was too high. Well, a number of people showed up at the polls and they said that they voted for Trump because they believed that he would be the one to lower cost. These actions aren't lowering cost. They're increasing costs. And that's a problem. And that's a problem that can be addressed if both sides come to the table and do something about these expiring healthcare subsidies and do something about these cuts to Medicaid and cuts to Medicare as well. And so nobody knows how this is going to work out in the end, but all eyes are on Washington as this is day one of the government shutdown. When we come forward, I'm going to be talking to somebody who knows a whole lot about healthcare policy. He knows a whole lot about navigating the choppy waters of Washington, D.C. and beyond. When I come forward, I'll be joined with Dr. Gene Axius. He's president and CEO of CHC, Creating Healthier Communities. You're listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. More when we come forward.
You're listening to A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
Is reviewing life insurance on your to-do list? Now's the perfect time to add it. A friend recently told me that securing life insurance sooner rather than later can help you lock in lower rates for years to come. So I bumped this up on my list and got it done. I called SelectQuote and couldn't believe how easy and affordable life insurance is. I'm 40 and got a $500,000 policy for $16 a month. My husband's also 40 and his $500,000 policy was only $18 a month. Plus, with SelectQuote's same-day coverage, there was no medical exam required, and we were covered by the time we hung up. Knowing I have this checked off my list feels amazing, but the peace of mind knowing my family is protected feels even better.
Call SelectQuote at 1-800-729-7070. That's 1-800-729-7070. Or go to SelectQuote.com to get your free quote today. That's 1-800-729-7070. Details on example rate at SelectQuote.com.
Hello, KBLA delegation. Tavis Smiley here. On Saturday, October 25th, LA Trade Tech becomes the epicenter of ideas that matter. The Left Coast Forum is bringing together voices that challenge, inspire, and illuminate with keynote presentations from people like noted economist Richard Wolff, the man who breaks down capitalism in ways that make sense to working folk like you and me, and Dr. Cornel West will be there, the brilliant philosopher and activist who never stops fighting for justice and speaking truth to power and to the powerless for that matter. So this isn't just another conference. This is where ideas get tested, where the conversations that shape our future begin. Multiple plenary sessions, dynamic speakers, real talk about the issues that impact our communities, and then some good food and a live band. Saturday, October 25th, LA Trade Tech, Left Coast Forum. The event is free and open to the public, but you must register at our KBLA1580.com website, where you can also peep the plenary topics. The future belongs to those who show up and engage. So don't just think about change, be part of the conversation that creates it. The Left Coast Forum is brought to you by the LA Progressive, the Empowerment Congress, Community Coalition, Partnership for Growth LA, Southwest Voter Registration Education Project, LA Care Health Plan, United Teachers Los Angeles, Black Progressive Action Coalition, St. John's Community Health, the National Lawyers Guild, the Weingart Foundation, and more. Space is limited, so if I were you, I'd register right now at KBLA1580.com. Your voice matters, your presence matters. We'll see you there.
Hit me! National News The Consequence. Informed opinion. And analysis beyond the headlines. You're listening to A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580.
You are listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. I'm Dr. Nii-Quartelai Quartey, and he is Dr. Gene Axius. He's president of Creating Healthier Communities. He is no stranger to A More Perfect Union. He has been a frequent guest here. And count us lucky having him on today, given his area of expertise, given the mission of his organization, to help us sort of separate the fact from the fiction from one of the biggest headlines that's trending, this government shutdown. Welcome to the show, Dr. Gene.
Well, Dr. Nii-Quartelai, thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be part of the conversation.
Well, thank you so much for being here. First things first, I want to get your reaction as a leader on the front lines that is in regular contact with leaders on the front lines across the country that are doing their best to create healthier communities. So much of so many people's body of work has been rolled back in recent months. And this government shutdown, there's no other way to see it than as an additional setback to folks in the field that are doing this work. And so I just want to give you a chance to sort of react to what you're hearing and what you know about how leaders are preparing to navigate what looks like a government shutdown with no end in sight.
Well, thank you so much, Dr. Nii-Quartelai, for this question. I think that we're at a very interesting inflection point in our country. And what I mean by that is the fact that this government shutdown doesn't help anyone. In fact, it just adds to the stress, the frustration, and frankly, the toll that many communities are facing across the country. We know that health is so foundational. And that when we actually improve health, according to Deloitte, they found that, according to one of their reports, that if we were to actually improve health outcomes across the country, we would see an additional 2.8 trillion to GDP by 2040. And that corporations would also see a significant increase of about $763 billion annually as a result of better health access. So this government shutdown, what we're seeing across the country is the fact that it's just adding to the disparities, to the inequities, to the challenges facing so many communities. We know that there is a 20-year difference in life expectancy between two neighborhoods that are less than 5 miles apart. You pick any city. What that represents, Dr. Nii-Quartelai, is lost lives, lost moments to see your kids graduate, lost opportunity to have meaningful relationships and to give back to your community and to your families. When we don't address the issues of healthcare, it impacts families, it impacts communities, and it devastates businesses. So there is a moral, but also a economic cost to addressing these issues. So the status quo is not sufficient. We had challenges before the shutdown. We had challenges before the passage of HR 1, and these are just going to magnify these disparities that we actually see across our communities. And as I mentioned before, no one wins.
Yeah, I just want to dig into that a little bit more because you and I got to know each other doing work to disrupt some of the most
Mhm,
persistent disparities that we see, particularly among older adults
mhm,
of color, and it really seems to me that from a policy perspective, we'll set the politics aside, C3
mhm.
conversation. From a policy perspective, it seems to me that the cuts to Medicaid, allowing the Obamacare subsidies to expire, how much of a setback does that represent? Not just to people's pocketbooks, but there have been a lot of policy fights over many years, and I think a lot of folks would like to think that where we were at least a year ago was largely the result of some level of consensus. Talk to us about where do we go from here policy wise if we can't even agree to continue subsidies that have been in place for some time now. Where do we go from here if we can't even agree that the folks that need health care the most, people who rely on Medicaid, who already have some work requirements.
Mhm.
No, they need more work requirements, and they need less support. Where do we go from here?
So 90% of individuals on the Medicaid program are actually working. But because of a range of factors in terms of limited wages or low wages, that they actually fall within that category that makes them eligible for Medicaid. If we would actually take the time to really think about how do we address wealth inequality in our country, we could actually start to address many of these more systemic issues. Where do we go from here, Dr. DeCordelai, is an excellent question. And it's exactly what you said to your viewers and listeners earlier on, that you can't be on the sidelines at this point in time, right? You can't be a witness to what we're actually seeing. You actually be in the game. And being in the game requires courage. It requires a strong sense of will. And then it actually requires us to kind of go back to what anchors us as a country, that we as a nation have always been a country that has focused on addressing the needs of others. That we're actually, while we value independence, we also realize that interdependence is what makes us actually the as strong as we can actually be. So when we talk about the Medicaid cuts and we talk about the expiration of the subsidies, the communities that are going to be disproportionately impacted, as you can imagine, would be rural America. There'll be individuals who actually rely on Medicaid for a significant percentage of their healthcare coverage, or who need that healthcare coverage and need some support from government. and it has uh, a ripple down effect, Dr. Nii-Quartelai, meaning the fact that you're going to see increases in emergency care, which is more costly to the healthcare system. We are already experiencing significant increases in chronic diseases in our country. We're already experiencing significant increases with regards to mental health in our country. We're already experiencing significant issues with social isolation and loneliness. And these cuts are just going to exacerbate these trends and these issues. So, what we need is a collective. We need to be thinking about what are the opportunities. And this is why we were so excited yesterday in New York City to actually launch the Leadership Council for Healthier Communities, which is a cross-sector collaboration of leaders in government, philanthropy, business, and nonprofits coming together to address community health and well-being. And it just so happened, Dr. Nii-Quartelai, that while we were having this conversation, unbeknownst to us, that there was this larger context of a government shutdown. And I think that's symbolic that in this moment in time, we do need every single person in every single industry and sector to stand up because a healthy community means healthy families, it means healthier workers, it means a much more vibrant economy. You cannot separate the health of our nation from the economic and national security of our nation.
Yeah, yeah. No, I think this is great, and one of the things we like to celebrate on this show are doers.
Mhm.
You know, yeah, we're a talk station, but we do more than just talk.
That's exactly
It
right.
it's important that we roll up our sleeves and that we lock arms, and that's exactly what you and a number of your colleagues have been doing with the Leadership Council for Healthier Communities. This is a new initiative from your organization, creating healthier communities. Talk to us a little bit more about the launch and founder summit that recently took place. You had a pretty dynamic group of leaders that came together. People like Mickey Taylor, editor at large over at
That's right.
Essence. Folks like Kimberly Blackwell, who's a C-suite advisor. You have folks like Dr. Uche Blackstock, who's a
Yes.
physician and an author advancing health equity. And Ashwin Vasan, the senior fellow over for health policy management at the Yale School of Public Health, just to name a few. And so really smart people with a lot of credibility across industries and in community. Talk to us about this Founders Summit. What were some of the high level takeaways that our leaders, learners, and listeners can lean into as we all consider ways in which we can all roll up our sleeves and do our part to build a more perfect union?
Thank you for that, Dr. Nii-Quartelai. And I know that you were traveling yesterday and doing what you do so well for your listeners. And we wish we could have had you on the program as well. So hopefully there'll be some opportunities to engage with you as we tackle these issues from a multi-sector perspective. The council was launched yesterday in New York in the backdrop of the Statue of Liberty and then Wall Street. Think about that in terms of the optics and the background and what that actually suggests. And why we launched this Leadership Council for Healthier Communities is because of the fact that, as we are talking about today, Dr. Nii-Quartelai, that there's significant disruption and transformation taking place in so many quarters of our country as relates to health and healthcare. That this council is focused on collaboration being the new form of currency, that no one sector can solve these issues around community health and well-being in isolation, and that we actually have to literally come together through collaboration, through dialogue, through building trust, while also centering the voices and the lived experiences of those at the community level in order to drive systemic change. So this is not about optics, this is about impact. Several of our leadership founders actually made some huge commitments and announcements yesterday. For example, the Archstone Foundation is given out $300,000 in rapid response grants to nonprofit organizations to ensure that dollars are flowing so that they can continue to provide critical services and supports to the communities that they actually serve. Artilex is actually giving over $100,000 to try to mitigate against some of the potential coverage losses with regards to Medicaid in one locality. Ameriprise, which is another founding member, is actually rolling out a huge mental wellness program for all of its workforce. Again, thinking about exactly how do we ensure that we're creating healthier communities that actually produce healthy families, healthy workers, and a more vibrant economy. This council is doing two things: it's marrying purpose and profit together to drive social impact and change. And we're doing it at a time where we cannot afford to be on the sidelines. That there are too many families and communities who are looking for and are in need of and want to be in the driver's seat of their own destiny as relates to their health. So we could not be more excited in terms of some of the key takeaways. Key takeaways, the fact that trust is a social driver of health, and trust is actually extremely local. And there is tremendous power with regards to that. The second thing is the fact that we all have an opportunity as individuals and as organizations to lock arms, to roll up our sleeves, and to help ensure that we're looking out for our neighbors, that we're taking the time to really foster greater community, that we're actually checking up on each other and being there as a support system for each other. Because in this moment of turbulence and in this moment of complexity and frankly frustration, we have to anchor in terms of what we know to be true. And that is, you are my brother's keeper. I am your brother's keeper. That we have to be able, through multi-sector approaches, leverage the resources we have, ensure that we're meeting the needs of the communities, and then at the same time, creating a sustainable path forward for all of us.
When we come forward, Dr. Jean, I want to talk about what folks in the room are doing differently. One of the conversations that keeps coming up from coast to coast, there are a lot of folks out there that feel that the establishment, that feel like people in positions of power, influence, and authority aren't shaking things up enough. They feel that they are doing the same old, and I'm curious as to what you're hearing from the leaders at the table during the launch of your Leadership Council for Healthier Communities. What is it that they are inclined to do differently to meet this moment? That seems to be the question of the day. When we come forward, more with Dr. Jean Axius. He is the president of Creating Healthier Communities. And we're excited to talk about the launch of the Leadership Council for Healthier Communities. More when we come forward. You're listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580.
The audience is listening. Thought-provoking, eye-opening, heart-rendering. This is where authentic voices meet powerful discussions on culture, community, and change. This is where Black voices matter. He's breaking boundaries, amplifying diverse perspectives, and tackling the issues that matter most to you. You're inside A More Perfect Union with Dr. Nii-Quartelai Quartey on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Tammy Eswick with BIN News Now.
At midnight, Donald Trump and Republicans shut the federal government down.
At midnight, the Democrats followed through on their threat to shut down the United States government.
It's the big story. Government shutdown. Democrats and Republicans can't even agree on who shut the government down. How are we going to get them to agree to a deal? Plus, the Supreme Court has agreed to hear arguments in the case against Black Federal Reserve Governor Lisa Cook. But until the case heads to court, Cook gets to keep her job, according to the Supreme Court. Well, Sean Diddy Combs is expected to address the court during his sentencing hearing Friday. He also requested that he be able to wear street clothes rather than his jail jumpsuit. Prosecutors are pushing for an 11-year sentence. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
In Diamond Bar, the 57 freeway northbound at the 60. A stalled car in the carpool lane. Got traffic stop and go from Lambert Road. It's probably adding about 15 minutes to your drive time this afternoon. In Anaheim Hills on the 91 freeway, eastbound before the 241. Right shoulder crash involving a couple of big rigs that knocked together. South Los Angeles on the 110 freeway, southbound before Gage. Right shoulder wreck. You're slow from the 10.
Got issues with youth or high school sports? Positive Coaching Alliance can help. PCA, a national nonprofit, offers more than 1,000 free online resources for youth and high school sports coaches, parents, students, and administrators. Visit PCADevZone.org.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
LeBron did not practice Tuesday in the Lakers' first full day of workouts and training camp, and he's not expected to be on the court for practice today. LeBron is dealing with nerve irritation in his glutes, the main muscles in the rear end. The Lakers were planning to limit LeBron's activity anyway in training camp and the preseason. LeBron, who turns 41 in December, is coming off a sprained knee from the playoffs and a foot injury. It's unlikely LeBron will play in any of the Lakers' 6 preseason games. The first game is Friday against Phoenix in Palm Springs. Lakers coach J.J. Redick said the plan is to have LeBron ready for the regular season opener October 21st against Golden State. LeBron is entering his NBA record 23rd season. The previous record for NBA longevity was 22 years by Hall of Fame guard Vince Carter. Carter retired in 2020 after playing for 8 teams. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. More news, opinions, and conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
Yeah, y'all, come on. Pick up the drums.
At KBLA Talk 1580, we fight the power every day.
Yeah, gotta give us what we want. Gotta give us what we need. Hey.
I listen to KBLA and I love the commercials. I know what the commercials mean. I also, if I'm looking and trying to figure something out, I need something to talk to me that might hit me. And it happens on TV because, every time they show a sporting event, they got the pharmaceutical companies back to back telling people how to fix the sickness on the same stuff that they sell them. So we get it.
Yep, we get it too, Chuck D. And that's why at KBLA Talk 1580, we don't black down.
Drop it. Our freedom of speech is freedom of death. We got to fight the powers that be. Fight the power. Fight the power.
Protect yourself from Medicare card scams. Scammers may call, email, or even knock on your door claiming they need your Medicare info, asking for money or threatening to cancel your benefits. Don't fall for it. It's a scam. Remember, Medicare doesn't need to verify your information. They already have it. Medicare won't charge you for a new card and will never threaten to cancel benefits. Check your Medicare statements for suspicious charges and report scams to the California Senior Medicare Patrol at 1-855-613-7080. We're here to help.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. LA County's new Justice Care and Opportunities Department, or JCOD, is here to support justice-involved individuals and their families. The JCOD Support Center is now taking calls at 1-833-LACJCOD. That's 1-833-522-5263. Available 7 days a week from 6 a.m. to 11 p.m., the Support Center is your one-stop shop for re-entry issues and court support. They offer court reminders, connections to local services, transportation assistance for housing, court appearances, and childcare. The JCOD hotline provides personalized help to connect you with services that you need. And don't forget to check out justiceconnect.org for more information. Remember, it's free and available every day at 1-833-522-5263. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio. That's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. Now back to building a more perfect union on KBLA Talk 1580.
You are listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. I'm Dr. Nii-Quartelai Quartey, and he's Dr. Gene Axios. He's the president of Creating Healthier Communities, and really excited to be talking about a leadership council for healthier communities that was just launched. Talk about meeting the moment. This is a leadership council that has a pretty dynamic group of leaders around the table. These aren't folks that are just sitting in ivory towers. These are folks who are on the ground, they're on the front lines, folks that are in community with us, that understand the real life, real time challenges that folks are experiencing and are thinking creatively about what they can do to provide immediate relief and respite, but more importantly, reimagining what the future can hold. And so, Dr. Jean, that sounds all wonderful, but when you bring bright people together, when you bring leaders together, there is inevitably going to be someone challenging the dominant thinking in the room. And so if we could just be a fly on the wall vicariously through you, talk to us about how some of the leaders at the table are shaking things up or looking to shake things up to move the moment. This moment requires courage. And unfortunately, we're not seeing enough of it. But it seems to me, based on the folks around the table, that the liquid courage must have been flowing during the Leadership Council for Healthier Communities launch.
So, Dr. Nicola, I just want to tell you that it could not be happier with the leaders that are part of the Leadership Council. Like I said before, this is not about optics. This is about measurable impact. The leaders who are coming together, they want to do exactly what you said earlier on your show, and that is to roll up their sleeves and let's get something done. The status quo is not sufficient and it's not acceptable, and it's only getting worse. And we know that in this environment where we're seeing so many things change, that we spent the day yesterday talking about not just how do we reimagine how we move forward, but how do we pull our talents, our resources, our time in a very intentional way to drive meaningful change. So this is not about optics. This is not what this is. This is not a group of ivory tower folks who are, in the C-suite or on an academic campus saying this is what we need to do. These are doers. These are change makers. And to answer your question in terms of exactly how are we going to do things differently? How are we going to shake it up? Well, I'll tell you, like I said before, that many of these council members made, not only did they make an investment, but they're tying their investment to their social impact strategy as an organization. So they're putting their money where their mouth is and they're getting the dollars as quickly as possible to the leaders, to the community-based organizations on the ground who are the experts. I think the other thing that makes this council so different from so many other councils is the fact that at the center of everything that we're doing is the lived experience of those at the community level. So we want to be that connector, that convener that actually brings together the lived experience of those at the community level and leaders in philanthropy, business, nonprofit to really drive systemic change. What we heard yesterday was the fact that we cannot afford to wait. We cannot afford to be on the sidelines. We cannot afford to do analysis by paralysis. That this is time for us to basically channel our resources and drive towards systemic change. 80%, Dr. Nii-Quartelai, of Americans believe that corporations have a responsibility to strengthen the communities in which that they actually operate. 70% of Americans believe that corporations have a responsibility to address systemic issues. We know that no one sector can solve these issues in isolation. And that's what this council is actually doing. Again, it's not about optics. It's not about who's at the table. In fact, we said as part of our call to action, who's not at the table that needs to be in the room at the table so we can kind of scale and accelerate radical change. This is about creating a new paradigm. This is about ensuring that the lived experiences of those who are closest to our communities are literally helping to drive. It's about shifting power dynamics, Dr. Nii-Quartelai, from corporations, from philanthropy to the community.
So it
And what does
sounded
that, yeah, and what does that look like just really quickly? I'll tell you, Dr. Nii-Quartelai, what that actually looks like is actually listening to what the community said they want and need and co-creating solutions, but also giving the community the resources long-term sustainable resources to leverage those dollars in a way that's going to be best served for the community. It's also understanding exactly what are the preferences of a community and how do we co-create that in a way that actually ensures that their preferences are honored, respected, and valued.
Dr. Jean, do you think philanthropy is overwhelmed in this moment? I mean, really what a difference a day makes. A day ago, we didn't have a government shutdown.
That's exactly right.
And that environment was already tough. And now today we have a government shutdown with no end in sight. What are you hearing from leaders in philanthropy? Are they prepared to meet this moment?
So, one of the reasons why we had so many philanthropic organizations join the Leadership Council, and we would encourage many of your listeners, you can join as an individual or as an organization, is because of just that, Dr. Nii-Quartelai, that in many ways, even before the government shut down, we saw that there was a lot of rollbacks, cuts to programs and grants and things of that nature from the government. And when you talk to philanthropic leaders, they will tell you that there's no amount of money if that would replace the dollars lost by government spending. Think about that. You could take all the dollars in philanthropy and it still would not make up for the loss in terms of government spending on an annual basis. So they appreciate and they welcome this partnership because business is at the table, philanthropy is at the table, nonprofits are at the table, communities at the table. And there's a lot that can actually happen when you have those different representatives from those sectors at the table with the focus on how are we collectively going to improve community health and well-being. So you're spot on. They were overwhelmed before yesterday, before the government shut down, because there was so much rollback, so much cuts to programs. And now, because of the Leadership Council for Healthier Communities, what we're seeing is that sectors are starting to rise to the occasion and saying that I know that if I don't step up, because as a corporation, their customers want corporations to step up, their investors want corporations to step up, the employees want corporations to step up. So now you actually have corporations, philanthropy, nonprofits, all at the table, driving towards community health and well-being.
Dr. Jean, in our remaining minutes with you, I want to ask a question that's perhaps on the minds of a number of our leaders, learners, and listeners. What makes the business leaders that are at the table with you, what makes them any different from some of the business leaders that we're reading about in the headlines, business leaders that are not meeting the moment, business leaders who, in the view of some, are capitulating to this moment as opposed to challenging power in this moment? What makes the business leaders that have inspired you through this leadership council, what makes them different from the business leaders that aren't meeting the moment?
Well, I think there's a couple of things, and I love that question. One is courage. These leaders are early adopters. They actually understand the value of a community, the value of health broadly defined, and how that actually impacts families, how that impacts businesses, how that impacts our broader economy, how that actually impacts people's ability to live a longer, healthier life, how that actually shortens life expectancy, how it actually impacts families in very devastating ways and the ripple effects of all of that. So one is the fact that these leaders are actually on the cutting edge, Dr. Nii-Quartelai, and that they have exactly what you said earlier, courage. I think it was Dr. Maya Angelou who said that of all the virtues, courage is the most powerful one because you can't actually do any of the others without it. And that is one of the criterias for individuals as well as organizations who are wanting to be part of the Leadership Council, that it requires courage to step out because we're doing things differently. We are looking at untraditional ways to close these gaps because no one should have to worry about where they're going to get their next meal, where they're going to get access to healthcare, where they're going to sleep, what school they're going to go to, and the quality of their education. No one should actually have to experience that, particularly in our wonderful country. And we believe very strongly with this council that your zip code, where you live, should never be a pre-indicator, an indicator of any sort of premature death or illness. And for
Yeah.
so many communities across the country, that is happening.
Yeah. I mean, you and I have been rocking for a long time, and I think one of the things that we have agreed on and worked to advance for many years is the idea that longevity is a justice issue.
It surely is.
Longevity is not just about sipping on your green juice, going to Pilates, going to yoga on a regular basis, but longevity is about how do we make the healthier choice the easier choice? How do we make the healthier choice the more affordable choice? How do we allow young people in this country to have a fighting chance at longevity by attaining a healthy weight? These are just some of the many things that people have been working on for a long time. And if I have it correctly, it doesn't look like folks like you or people at the table at this Leadership Council look to quit anytime soon. Our thanks to you for the work you're leading. Our thanks to all of the folks that are part of your team at creating healthier communities. Quickly, where can people go to tap in and be a part of the movement that you're building?
Absolutely. And thank you so much, Dr. Nii-Quartelai, for your leadership, for being a voice for so many, and for really being a truth teller. I could not thank you enough for challenging our nation to be better and to really turn in and be that more perfect union. Because if we can actually achieve that, we all will be better off. That this is not a zero-sum game. That the ideals of our country is one of unity, one of moving forward. For those who are interested in learning more about the Leadership Council, please visit us at chcimpact.org /LCHC. Again, that is www.chacimpact.org /LCHC. We would love to have you be part of this. We only ask one thing, and that is that you're bold and that you're courageous. And with that, we can do a lot of things.
We like that. Being bold, being courageous.
That's right.
That's our love language here on A More Perfect Union. Our thanks to Dr. Gene Axius, the president of Creating Healthier Communities. Come back again soon.
Thank you so much for inviting me.
You are listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580, the quiet part out loud when we come forward.
Striving to make America a nation as good as its promise. This is A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
JP Morgan Chase offers tips for the local business owners in 2025. Small business landscape is ever changing, and the Los Angeles market is no exception. A startup or legacy business, revisiting your mission statement and recalibrating offerings can renew opportunities for growth and innovations. Programs like Chase for Business Coaching for Impact gives entrepreneurs access to expert guidance, helping you streamline operations, strategize your growth, and navigate complex challenges. Businesses with a clear sense of purpose can navigate any challenge effectively, but also build stronger customer loyalty. Visit chase.com/coaching for impact for more information. This segment is sponsored by JP Morgan Chase.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. If you need help getting your resume in order, finding job training, or landing a job, we've got 3 great options for you. First, the City of Los Angeles has WorkSource centers across the area offering free job support. The California Workforce Development Board can help you with everything from GED prep to vocational training at no cost to you. On the federal level, the Department of Labor's American Job Centers offer a full range of services for job seekers and businesses alike. Visit careeronestop.org, or for more info, just call California's Help Center or visit cwdb.ca.gov or call 916-657-1440. For the City of Los Angeles programs, go to ewdd.lacity.gov or call 213-744-7300. All these services are free to help you get your next job. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Yeah.
Look,
California Crusader newspaper would like to thank all of our subscribers for their support throughout the years, proudly serving the South Los Angeles and South Bay areas for more than 40 years. The California Crusader is a multicultural, Black-owned, adjudicated newspaper that focuses on providing newsworthy information to the people in our community. We're constantly looking for ways to assist businesses in our community to connect with our subscribers. We provide low-cost, effective ways to promote your business with our reasonable and affordable advertising rates. You can participate by suggesting, sharing, and submitting your stories on the California Crusader newspaper Community Share Facebook group page, or visit our website at cal-cruise-news.com. That's calcruisenews.com. Then click on the Submit Now button located on the top right corner of the homepage, or text CCN to 42828. Again, text CCN to 42828. The California Crusader newspaper, working together to build a better community for our future. Subscribe today.
We face tragedy, but we don't fall into despair. We continue our work to build a more perfect union.
You are listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. It's time for the quiet part out loud. And I don't know if I've ever shared this on air before. Oftentimes people ask, well, who's on your short list of folks you want to interview? And there are tons of people that I would love to be in conversation with. My list of folks, it's intergenerational, it's international. It consists of people who have inspired me from when I was wee high, to people that are what I believe critical voices in the public square, particularly in a time such as this. One of those timeless voices that is on my short list of people I would love to be in conversation with is Jane Fonda. Jane Fonda is a real one. Jane Fonda has been speaking out for a very long time and has done so at the height of popularity, and has also done so when she wasn't so popular. And at almost 90 years old, Jane Fonda is still speaking. The Guardian reports that Jane Fonda has relaunched a free speech group that was started by her father during the McCarthy era. That's right. Jane Fonda has launched the Committee for the First Amendment. It's the McCarthy era initiative that was started by her father, Henry Fonda, with a groundswell of celebrity support. The new committee, established to protect free speech from government censorship, has the support of, get this, over 550 entertainment figures, including Quinta Brunson, Viola Davis, Kerry Washington, Natalie Portman, Aaron Sorkin, Spike Lee, Pedro Pascal, Ben Stiller, Whoopi Goldberg, Sean Penn, John Legend, folks like Julianne Moore, Janelle Monáe, Barbara Streisand, Julia Louis-Dreyfus, Billie Eilish, just to name a few. When asked, Fonda said that the McCarthy era, it ended when Americans from across the political spectrum finally came together and stood up for the principles in the Constitution against the forces of repression. She went on to say that those forces have returned, and it's our turn to stand together in defense of our constitutional rights. She said, we refuse to stand by and let that happen. Free speech and free expression are the inalienable rights of every American of all backgrounds and political beliefs, no matter how liberal or conservative you may be. The ability to criticize, the ability to question, the ability to protest and even mock those in power is foundational to what America has always aspired to be. The original committee was co-founded by Henry Fonda in the 1940s in response to the House Un-American Activities Committee. The House committee, led by Senator Joseph McCarthy, accused entertainment figures of being communist sympathizers, derailing many careers and casting a chilling effect on Hollywood. Sound familiar? Fonda's new committee arrives as free speech has once again become a rallying cry in Hollywood following Disney's suspension of Jimmy Kimmel Live under pressure from the Trump administration. You remember ABC's parent company preempted Kimmel's show after Brendan Carr, the Trump-appointed chair of the Federal Communications Commission, threatened to revoke its affiliate licenses over comments that Kimmel made about the politicizing of the shooting of the right-wing commentator Charlie Kirk. And after backlash from viewers in the entertainment community, Disney, they allowed Kimmel to return the air last week, but Nexstar and Sinclair, the two companies with affiliate stations that still refused to air the show, they ended their boycott after discussions with Disney, allowing Kimmel to return to broadcast on all ABC stations. And so in a letter encouraging her peers to join the initiative, Jane Fonda pointed to her long history as a civil rights activist, saying, "I'm 87 years old. I've seen war, repression, protest, and backlash. I've been celebrated, and I've been branded an enemy of the state, but I can tell you this. This is the most frightening moment of my life. When I feel scared, I look to history. I wish there was a secret playbook with all the answers, but there never has been. The only thing that's ever worked time and time again is solidarity. Binding together, finding bravery in numbers too big to ignore, and standing up for one another. Here on A More Perfect Union, we fully endorse this work. Godspeed to Jane Fonda and everyone a part of this movement. You've been listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. When we come forward in our next hour, MSNBC's Ali Velshi joins us to talk about some of the biggest trending news of the day and a new initiative being launched by MSNBC in New York. More when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Tammy Eswick with BIN News Now.
There are hundreds of thousands of federal workers who are getting their furlough notices.
While the feds gear up for shutdown mode, Black Maryland Governor Wes Moore says he's ready to support his state's needs by supporting those on Medicaid and SNAP, helping out with Head Start programs, and making sure veterans maintain access to the things they need. Louisiana's Republican governor has officially asked President Donald Trump to send 1,000 troops into the state. Some lawmakers say the deployment will enhance public safety, but Black New Orleans Congressman Troy Carter says crime is already down, and using military as a political tool to score points on cable news is a bad idea. Lastly, Time magazine just unveiled its 2025 list of the world's biggest rising stars. And guess who's on this year's list?
It's 7 p.m. Friday. It's 95 degrees.
Congratulations, Glorilla. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
In Anaheim Hills, an overturned vehicle